Hello, it's Caroline here from The Joyful Doctor. Before I get started, I'm just going to apologise a little bit if I cough at all during this video because I'm just getting over a bit of a cough at the moment. But I'm resting up, right? Because we have to look after ourselves first as doctors. But I really wanted to just share a little video today because it's Changeover Day, and it's a really significant day in the NHS where a lot of junior doctors swap over roles, and new junior doctors are starting their first jobs as doctors, fresh out of medical school. So I just really wanted to send out a lot of warm wishes for any of those new doctors that are out there that have had their first day today. I know that for many of you it will have been, wonderful and amazing and the culmination of everything you've worked for in the last few years, but for some of you it may well have been, incredibly frightening, anxiety-provoking, stressful, overwhelming. It can be a bit like you've just been hit by a bus. And it's really got me thinking about my first days on the wards as a junior doctor when I first qualified, and that was nearly 16 years ago now, which is amazing to think. And actually, I really struggled really, really early on. So even in the first 2 or 3 weeks, even I was really starting to find it really, really difficult. I was really exhausted. I was doing 100-hour weeks, and even on days when I was doing normal hours, it was still the work was sometimes really scary and really overwhelming. And I remember sitting there one day, about 3 or 4 weeks in, actually, not long after I'd started, and I was looking up blood results, and it had been a really difficult day, and I was knackered, and I was sitting there, and I was really feeling like, how am I going to keep going? And up in front of me popped this amazing cardiology registrar who just said really innocently, just said, "Hey, how you doing?" And I just replied without thinking. I was like, "Oh, I'm thinking of resigning, thanks, how are you?" And then there was this awful silence and this moment where we were like, did that just happen? Oh my goodness, we're British, we can't talk about our feelings, a bit of awkwardness and a bit of but there was something, but I didn't think anything of it. He mentioned something about a patient and he went on his way, and I didn't really think anything of it. And then he came back later that day and he handed me a piece of paper. It was a pink ECG request form, and he'd folded it up and he said, "Here, read this later." And I thought, okay, that's a bit strange, but okay. And when I got home later that night, I opened up this pink note, and it was a letter that he'd written to me, and it was to this day one of the most powerful and compassionate letters and things that anyone has ever done for me as a doctor. And it just said, being a doctor, junior doctor, can be really hard, and it's okay if you're struggling and you're not the only one, and if I can do anything to help, please get in touch. And at the end of this letter, he'd written a PS, and it said, just as background, a good friend of mine died by suicide, leaving behind his wife and 3 children, and nobody even knew he was struggling. Nobody even knew he was struggling. And that really hit home for me. It was the first time I really, really, really landed that, doctors really struggle, and they struggle to come forward when they're struggling to get the help they need. And that's when my interest in doctors' wellbeing began all those 16 years ago. And, I've been on my own journey struggling with my mental health and physical health over the years, as I speak about quite regularly, and you can read about on my website at joyfuldoctor.com. But yeah, that's where it all started for me. And it was a really important lesson that just a tiny moment of compassion in the life of a doctor can really it can save their life. This wasn't a fancy intervention. This was one doctor just noticing another doctor was struggling and saying, "Are you okay? And do you want to talk about it? And it's okay if you want to talk about it." And that changed everything for me. So I really hope that if you're one of the doctors that is starting your your first job today, that that if you do struggle in the next few days, weeks, months, or years, that you know that you are not the only one, and that there is help out there if you need it. Please, get in touch with us at joyfuldoctor.com, teamjoy@joyfuldoctor.com. You can email us, or we can signpost you. There's the wonderful NHS Practitioner Health Programme that offers free and confidential advice and treatment and for doctors. Please just, get in touch. And know that you're not alone, and it's an amazing privileged job that we do, but it's tough sometimes, and it's okay if you're struggling. I'm going to leave it there and carry on resting my cough, but I'll see you again soon. All right, bye for now.